From what it sounded like, the seer was going through files or searching documents. It wasn't part of the operation, but Eos didn't want to annoy his partner any further than he had already done, so he just remained silent as he was sitting tensely between the branches of a hedge, surrounded by magical instruments and gadgets. Almost a minute passed with neither of the two saying anything. Then, the agent's voice came through the comlink again. "Aren't you gonna say anything, kid? Like, that this isn't the mission or something? Honestly, these files are boring as hell. Nothing interesting here, that's for sure." Surprised by a sudden sound, Eos looked around. The interface had picked up on his partner's location. I have your location, Mister. Clear to proceed." "The name's Zark. Callum Aretz Zark. It's a pleasure." A pleasure, Mr. Zark, but aren't we forbidden to tell our names on comlink because of spies?" A chuckle from the com. "You ever been spied on while talking on comlink?" "No, sir, but..." "That's because it doesn't happen, son." Silence. Eos was too embarrassed to respond. He was trying so hard to keep up with the experience and routine that Mr. Zark was showing, but still made one stupid mistake, one impolite question after the other. I'm sorry, Mr. Zark, I don't..." "You're worrying far too much, kid. Just... the door's locked." Oh yes, of course, immediately." Eos reached to his interface nervously. Again, he should have thought about this on his own. I'm sending an Orcus algorithm. Can you tell me about the lock?" "Orcus? Really? Are you still using those? Funny, that was already standard decades ago. Must be a pretty good tool, huh?" A short silence. Zark was probably inspecting the lock for information on the mechanism, or even the passcode. The Orcus algorithm would crack any spell sooner or later, at least any lock spell with less than 4 passcode. But that was normally later, rather than sooner. Zark coughed and continued talking. Why am I in a cellar, anyway? The target was the first floor. Seems they can't even teleport correctly these days. Who is the operator on this gig?" Eos couldn't help but grin. Justice upon an arrogant newbie that thought himself better than everybody else just because he was sitting high above there, in the operator chair, instead of down here in the dirt, with branches poking at his face. "It's a newcomer, Mr. Zark." "Thought so. Kid straight out of class, is that it? Dangerous choice for an operator, if you ask me. The lock's type 7, by the way. Looks like moving to standard lock, probably 2 digits. Try 97 as a code." Eos gulped at the idea of Mr. Zark being displeased with newbies, but he didn't have time to think about the fact that he was one himself. He fumbled hastily at the cheap artifact for the unlock spell that he had been provided by Instral like 1 year ago, back when he had started the class. It was worn down by all the practicing he had done, and Eos felt bad about it. According to procedure, artifacts older than 10 months were to be replaced. Then again, he couldn't really afford anything in his current financial position. When he tried 97 as the spell's passcode, a comforting click sounded from the other end of comlink. Unbelievable. Eos wanted to ask Mr. Zark how he had known the code, but he was afraid of making a most stupid mistake. It was probably obvious, so he decided to say nothing and just stay professional. "Remember that one, kid. HE used that as code for all their maintenance doors in 55. Still used in some places." Hastily, Eos wrote down the number on his cuff. That was the kind of info that you could only get through years of being in the business. His respect for this Mr. Zark was growing by the minute. "You got plans for the building with you? I'm at the staircase now, probably north side of the whole thing." "Sorry, Mr. Zark, the only plans provided to me by..." Eos muttered, timidly searching for any blueprints that he might have overlooked in his bag. "Unbelievable," replied Zark with a tone of confirmed expectations. "Just who is this operator, really? Plans are number 1, kid. Number 1. Guess we'll go without them. I have them for floor 2 and up, said Eos quickly, hoping to improve Zark's mood. Now that he thought about it, Mr. Zark didn't seem very upset or frustrated. He had a harsh way of talking, but from what Eos could pick up, he didn't dislike the situation. Maybe that's just the way you work if you've been an operative for decades, Eos thought. Should I initiate a diversion alarm somewhere, Mr. Zark? From what Eos heard through the comlink, Zark was climbing the stairs to the 3rd floor, where, according to the young operator, the objective was stored. A what, kid? An alarm to divert attention, mister. What's with the Mr. business? Just Zark, kiddo, okay? That's my name. We're partners in action. Start calling the proper names, Zark said, his tone difficult to read. Eos didn't know what to say. So, like a fluke? Don't do it. Not now. We're still unnoticed from what I can tell. Let's keep it that way, continued Zark, and Eos nodded, as if confirming the order. What Zark said made obvious sense. During the class, he had learned that in large buildings, setting off a diversion alarm could buy time to search for the objective. He had looked up possible spots for such an alarm in advance, hoping that his preparation would pay off. But Zark had the clear authority here, and his argument was convincing. They should wait with any aggressive action until they were actually noticed. While Eos was busy pondering this thought and rearranging some of his artifacts in front of him, Zark continued. I've got 2 doors at the end of the hallway. Can I get both unlocked? Gonna be there in a minute. Looks like double movie into 2 locks on that first one. Type 9, as the kids would say. Of course, I'm on it, said Eos, and with a quick look at the interface and the floor plan, he determined the position of the 2 locks. Now, he began understanding what Zark had said earlier about the importance of floor plans. Naturally, knowing the position of any magic device was essential for hedging it. In class, Eos had practiced both hedging based on a floor plan and blind hedging, which was much more difficult, where the field agent would describe the location of the device and the hedger had to guess its position based on their partner's position and the interface and the partner's description. That was the method that had been in use for years before the interface had even been invented. The true form of hedging, the blind form. The method that had been deployed by Tronker and Kura and his men. Eos tried 97 on the passcode, but it was incorrect as far as he could tell. Quite obvious, it wasn't a maintenance door after all. He set up an Orcus algorithm on the first door, and he was just about to do the same on the second door, when a sudden noise from the comlink made him jump up in his seat of grass. On the other end of the comm, Zark seemed to be in trouble, and 3 or 4 loud thumping sounds, followed by a door being quickly opened and closed, were audible. Zark, are you alright? Zark? Silence. Then, after a few seconds that seemed to Eos like a full minute, yeah, I'm fine. Nothing to worry about, kid. Eos let out a sigh of relief. This might have been just some random noises, but it was definitely the peak pressure of his career so far. Which, now that he thought about it, was somewhat easy to do, given his time of service. I just had to take a look at these folks' pockets, said Zark on the comlink, accompanied by a clicking sound of something small hitting the wall. Probably a security card that he had taken. But, Mr. Zark, is that protocol? Our mission states stealth, and... Don't worry about it, Hedge boy. They didn't even see what hit him. They? 2 men? Exclaimed Eos in surprise. Taking down one unsuspecting target was in fact very easy. Everyone in class had learned that, even if they didn't want to. But 2 was much more of a challenge, and the risk in being seen or raising an alarm was very high. Yeah, whatever. These lads have some nice spare change on them, that's for sure, continued Zark as if nothing had happened. Anyway, let's go on with the operation. Are these doors open? Yes, the first is unlocked and clear, replied Eos, a bit startled by Zark's maneuver. I'm still working on the second one. Tough luck. I got a passcard here, you know. No need for regular counterclockwise now. Better get on board with that second lock. Eos had no idea what counterclockwise were supposed to be, but Zark was right. Having acquired a passcard, Eos wouldn't need to unlock normal doors from this point on. That would save them a great amount of time. He wanted to ask what counterclockwise were, but Zark seemed a bit annoyed already. He would do that later. Meanwhile, Zark's steps down the hallway were audible on the comm. He should get onto that second door. I'm at the door, kid. Open sesame. I'm setting up an Orcus now, sir. Sorry. Cut the sir business. And this might take a while. From what I can tell, this one has an additional Born on it. Continued Zark. Eos heard the door opening. His partner was clearly searching the adjacent room. Again, he had no idea what Zark's custom terms were supposed to mean. A Born? He could be referring to the passcode, which was sometimes called a Born-type identity, but that made no sense. Mr. Zark, what is an additional Born, if I may ask? He was interrupted by a quiet chuckle from Zark. It's senior lingo, son. An additional binary is what kids call it nowadays. Of course, that made more sense. The classic lock spell that corporations used for their security doors didn't allow for more than 3 digits of passcode. But some of the more modern versions added a so-called additional binary, or a simple yes or no modifier that essentially doubled the number of possible codes and was supposed to make attacks during the Norcus algorithm more time-consuming. It would at least take 2 minutes to determine the passcode on that lock. He should get working. While Eos was setting up the algorithm, Zark continued to talk over the comm. So tell me, Hedge boy, what's your status these days? My status, Mr. Zark? I am at spawn location, equipment active, will need time to pack though. That's not what I meant, son. Your status, as in experience. I've never heard your name before. Keras, was it? Unusual name, that. Eos was starting to feel a bit uncomfortable, not only because of the advanced lingo that Zark was pulling out, but because of this question as well. Actually, sir, it's my first mission in the field. Huh. Is that so? Said Zark plainly. It was hard to read the subtext, and Eos didn't know how to respond. Yes, actually, it's a great honor to work with such a senior agent immediately. Thanks for the flowers, kid. So, our idiot of an operator isn't the only straight-out-of-class boy. Tell me all about it. Eos bit his lip in anticipation. He had no idea what kind of impression he had made to Zark so far, and he didn't quite understand what "tell me all about it" was supposed to mean in this context. All in all, working with a seasoned agent was just about as complicated as everybody at class had told him it would be, including the cool senior lingo that all the class kids had been trying to use, but couldn't quite keep up when it came down to it. On the other end of the comlink, Zark was flipping through files and opening drawers. Well, you're doing just fine, rookie. Honestly, I had no idea. Eos grinned, relieved. He couldn't help it. Thank you, sir. That's a great thing to hear on your first run. Yeah, guess so. I've got some stuff here that Central will want to take a look at. How's that Norcus coming along? The Norcus was almost finished. It's going to clear any minute now. Proceed to target. Please. Zark laughed. That's right, son. That's what I'm gonna do. Proceed to target, just like the young kids. Careful with that door, though. Seems to be the summit area. Check for a trapdoor. And all that. You know the drill.